the com Thank
Okay.
you.
So you guys are like this one. So when I was quite young, when I was sort of 15, 16, and we were getting into our wayward ways, I said to my friend, if he ever became a heroin addict, because my mum was a counselor and she taught me counselling, so I used to do that with everyone. If he ever became a heroin addict, no matter where I was in the world, and if we'd never spoken to each other, that I would stop whatever I was doing and I would help him. That's the kind of thing you say when you're 14, 15. And when I was about 22, I was working in a corporate environment in London. There's 350 people on the sales floor. We're not allowed to sit down. We're not allowed to call each other by our name until we've done a deal. It's like the stock market. Everyone's shouting down the phones. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine, anonymous friend of mine, but he knew who I was, telling me that my friend Charlie had become a heroin addict. And I was like, well, I don't really know what to do with that one. How do I help him? And I'd made this deal, but I'm kind of my basic counseling skills that I learned when I was about 8 from my mum aren't really going to help. And so I didn't know what to do. And I think we're all Christians here. Um, the amount of times that you pray and nothing happens. You beg, you plead, and nothing happens. We kind of, a lot of the time we spend this time shouting into the void. And I actually have priests that are clients where I'm helping them reconnect their spiritual beliefs at the moment. But I kind of thought, well, okay, it doesn't work all that well for me. I was a little bit lapsed at the time. But in front of 350 people, I said the Lord's Prayer out loud, dying a death because everyone was shouting at me and they were threatening to fire me. And I just said, Dear Lord, give me, help my friend Charlie and I'll do whatever you want with my life. And I heard this person saying behind me, if you love him so much, I apologize. Is it all right to swear very briefly? Okay, right. I won't say too much. So I heard this voice say, if you love him so effing much, why don't you help him and I'll help you do that? And I was like, I turned around thinking that somebody was behind me taking a mick, and there was no one behind me. And I said, okay, dear Lord, help me, give me the skills to help my friend, and then I'll help anyone else. And this voice in my head said, done. And the phone went. And as I picked up the phone, there's a guy I hadn't spoken to for 2 years, and he'd left the company, been a very good friend of mine. We used to talk about spirituality and religion a lot, and he trained in something called NLP, and he specialized in helping people get off crack in the US, and he specialized in drugs. So I asked him to help my friend, and he refused. But what he did do is he paid for me to do my training in NLP, and then I started working with the soldiers. And then over the next 20 years, I trained in 7 different forms of therapy and then spiritual therapy, because when you're working with soldiers, a lot of very strange things happen. People have all sorts of stuff depending on your belief structures. They manifest very bad things, and some of the stuff that's stuck to them isn't from their consciousness. So I started training a lot and studying a lot in multidisciplinary spiritual psychology and different kinds of stuff. And now I train spiritual healers and all sorts of stuff like that. So going back to one of the things that really came up for everybody, and I love the journeying. That's a really cool way of looking at things. Um, there's a few things that come in. And Martin, I think you mentioned about the ego. Okay. So in 1960, a gentleman by the name of Maxwell Maltz published a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Now, he was a plastic surgeon that specialized in reconstructive surgery in the US. And what he had noticed was he would get a CEO of a big multi-million pound company in the 60s, and the person would have a car accident and they get a scar on their face. And over the next couple of years, they would lose their ability to do well at work, and the business would tank. And eventually, they would go to Maxwell. Maxwell would find them, and Maxwell would get rid of the scar, and then the person's business would come back up again. And we kind of don't really even question that. It's like the person lost their confidence, the person was in a dark place, and yeah, they lost their ability to do it. But what Maxwell Maltz did was he realized that it wasn't the person's skill, it wasn't their intelligence, and it wasn't the amount of luck that they had that suddenly disappeared. It's how they saw themselves in relation to everyone else. And he invented something, or he discovered something called the success mechanism, which is why it's called psycho-cybernetics. So if you look at the work of Tony Robbins at the moment, all of the work, Tony Robbins, Marissa Peer, all of the top coaches, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar on the planet, it's all based on the success mechanism. And what happens to us is between the age of 0 and 20, we develop. This is going to become relevant in a minute, don't worry. Between 0 and 20, we develop the way that we see the world and we develop our emotional conditioning. And our emotional conditioning will dictate how successful we are. Now, if you get a rich person or people that grows up in a rich family, they tend not to get valued and they tend not to get told, well done for working hard. May sound a bit strange. They work hard, and I'm not saying they don't, but you'll get much more valued for finding a way of doing something or finding something that somebody else hadn't worked out. They get valued for their ingenuity, they get valued for their intelligence, they get valued for finding something somebody else hadn't noticed and then taking action on it. If you work and live in, I have my family, we were poor on one side and we were pretty rich on the other side. And my family, I'm dyslexic, so I found school very difficult. And so I got valued for working hard. Now, I didn't have to be successful, but I had to try really hard. The harder I tried, the more, oh, you're trying so hard, we're so proud of you. And I got my validation for trying. Now, going back to what Kat was saying, related to feeling that she was being a rebel. Okay. When I'm working with CEOs and when I'm working with, actually translates very nicely or segues into the spiritual side of things, when I'm working with people for success, what you'll find is when you're at school, your job is schoolwork and doing your homework and doing chores and being obedient. And then when you're not doing that, then you get fun. Then you get to enjoy your passion. You get to climb trees. You get to do the things that you really want to do. So as our identity is being created, what we start learning is that when we're free, when we're passionate, when we're having fun, we're not going to get necessarily the validation that we want. We've got to sacrifice our freedom in order to be responsible, to be accountable, to receive love, and to receive the well done and the pat on the shoulder that we want from our parents. So our stability is usually based in some level as a child on our ability to sacrifice our passion and our freedom. Does that make sense? Stop. Okay. If it does, it does. So, in terms of the conditioning then that we've got, what I specialize in doing is looking at the structures and the thought structures that we've got that create what you would call, so it's the success mechanism if you're into psychology. If you're looking at spirituality, now we're looking at the manifesting template and actually how we create in the world. And from a biblical point of view, what I used to really, really get confused about when I was a child was I know my Bible quite well, but I'm very bad at the John 13:20. I don't have that bit, right? But there's the passage in the Bible that says, to he who has, more shall be given, and to he who has not, even that which he does have shall be taken away. And I always thought, how could a loving God give more to somebody who's got a load of stuff and take away somebody that doesn't have so much? Couldn't figure it out when I was a child. Now, if we go back to the principles, looking at the principles of alchemy, looking at principles of energy, energy follows thought. So if you look at yourself as a child of God, that makes you a living expression of divinity itself. It makes you ultimately powerful. It makes you the only being in the whole of the universe that doesn't have to do what God says because you have free will. Everything else does. Okay. The only way you can have free will is to be a direct expression of God. Now, if you are a direct expression of God, then you have the power within you to do everything. There is nothing too big for you. Creating a planet is not too big for you. If you believed wholeheartedly that when you woke up tomorrow, your bed was going to be made of gold, if you had no emotional conditioning to say that it wasn't, that would happen. When we're looking at miracles, the ability to do a miracle is the ability to believe something is going to happen without any doubt in any way, shape, or form. Even a tiny bit of doubt will stop that. And so when we're working with miracles and the energy of miracles, it's releasing the doubt and releasing the idea that if I have the ability to do this, that means something. I've got to do it in a certain way. It's conditional. And as humans, we don't understand what unconditional love is. And this is the bigger part. So if I am segueing, please stop me, right? Because as I said, a few different things. A couple of people have asked about true purpose. Okay. Now, true purpose and divine purpose, two slightly different things. True purpose is the desire, is as we Not sure how we feel about reincarnation in this one, but we can look at it from a point of reincarnation or just we have energetic conditioning that comes down through the bloodline. So if you ever studied the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, he's a geneticist. He worked out that the belief structures actually come down through the bloodline, and that relates to sins of the father. Well, not just sins of the father. It's the our belief structures that come in, so the conditioning that come in. Um, as we're born, we're born with complete and utter openness. We're children. We don't have an identity yet. We have no concept that things are impossible for us because we haven't been told that. I remember a story of a child. I do a lot of stuff with medical industry, and there's a beautiful story of a girl who was about 4 or 5 years old, and she needed a new kidney. And she'd been on the waiting list for a new kidney for 4 years. And they kept on every 5 or 6 months, they kept on scanning her, and they noticed this lump by her kidney. And over 2 years, this lump got bigger and bigger and bigger. And in the end, they wanted to do exploitative surgery to make sure this lump wasn't a tumor. And when they went in, they found a second kidney growing. And this girl had been told on a weekly basis she needed a new kidney, but no one had told her she couldn't grow one herself. When we step into the idea that anything's possible, when we step into the idea of love, when we step into the idea of surrender, this is where nothing is impossible. This is where the miracles happen. So, if we look at your true purpose, when we're a child, you're born into this life and you have whatever you believe your energetics are. If you believe in karma, you come in with your karmic package. If you don't believe in karma, you come in with the genetic package of your bloodline. We come in with a certain amount of pain and a certain amount of separation. If you can imagine a soul, little angel floating around in heaven, and then one day this soul wakes up on earth, it's just come from heaven and wakes up on earth, and there's war, there's pain, there's hunger, there's coldness, there's all sorts of things. Suddenly we feel this separation, and we feel, no matter how much we know that divinity and the Lord is unconditional, almost no one really feels that we're worthy of unconditional love because we have no concept of it. We know that we are, but we don't really feel what that means to have that unconditional love. So as a child, the first thing we start doing is manifesting the core traumas of our life. And that could be as little as when we can't speak, when we're that young, we're 6 months old, we're looking up at our mum and we're hungry and she doesn't notice because she's got other stuff going on. It's attunement. We've got these five core wounds: attunement, abandonment, autonomy, love, sexuality. But our entire identity, then, our egoic identity, is designed. Am I jumping around too much? Okay, if I am, because I know I'm swapping backwards and forwards, sorry. Um, so your ego is externally focused. We have all the passion in our heart, we have all the light that we are, but our ego is externally focused. It's when I'm hungry, I need something outside of me. When I'm cold, I need something to bring me warmth. Everything outside of me is where my ego is focused. So if I feel worthless, then my ego will look outside of me to find validation for that. If I feel weak, my ego will look for something outside of me that can bring in that strength, whatever that is. So when we start off with our wounds and our identities being created, and we're developing our identity template. Our entire core concept of ourself is all based on what we're not. If I know that I'm good at running, I was never good at running, but if I know that I'm good at running at school, I know that I'm just about better at running than someone else and not as good as somebody else. If out of all of the school, I'm the best runner, I know I'm better than 100 people, but I might not be better than everybody else. So even the upper limits of what I know about myself have the limitation on them. If I know that I'm good at maths, I may get an A, but I don't get an A star every time. So as I do this, I start building up this idea of my limitations. And my limitations is creates this huge identity. We call it a comfort zone. Once I've got all of these limitations, I now know how the world works. I know that if I want to climb trees, I'm not going to get loved by my mum and dad. I know personally that if I sing, I didn't have the greatest singing voice. I could have, maybe I could have been Alec Jones, but if I sing, I'm going to give my dad a headache and he's going to be angry when he comes home. So I start learning that to be loved, I have to sacrifice myself. and I start separating from my own heart. Now, if we go back to the idea that divinity is pure love, it's not at the level of vibration that we have. The level of vibration is massively important, and I work with this on a daily basis, and healers and spiritual everyone. Vibration is insanely important. But what I've been listening to you talk about is what I would call the law of radiance. It's the level of connection within the vibration and the level of embodiment that comes within the vibration. So you can get people. There's a famous ashram over in India at the moment with a lady called Amma. I know a lot of people that go to Amma, and you will see incredibly high vibration. They've just come 6 months off a silent retreat, high vibration people. And it's going back to what one of you was saying. The second they're in a low vibration space, everything's screwed. And now they're like, oh, I can't. Oh, this is so low vibration. I can't handle this. I can't handle this. I can't handle this. But when we look at someone like Jesus, Jesus spent his time with the tax collectors, with the poor of the world, the broken of the world, the people in pain, the people that were suffering of the world. Now, the vibration is important, but the level of embodiment that comes within that, as they say, we can't heal by ourselves. We have to heal in connection with each other. So going back to the ego, the true purpose path, the true purpose and divine purpose, when we have this core, we have these core wounds, the core wounds, our ego starts trying to fix them. That sets our life direction and sets our goals and our passions. And now that could be to be a kickboxer. It could be to be a, there's a story I used to explain to people. You have a doctor from Médecins Sans Frontières who decides they want to spend their entire life helping people. They end up in Sierra Leone helping people as many as they can, but it's a tough environment and they end up really, they might save 1,000 people's lives. Beautiful life. It's going to be very tough for them. They end up smoking and drinking and everything, and it's tough. Then you get a footballer or American footballer, because you guys are in the States, who doesn't care, just doesn't care, makes all the money, really, really, really just lives his passion, has great fun, maybe not a particularly nice person, walks through an airport, sees one kid with leukemia, with cancer, and the kid wants an autograph, and the footballer's got a bit of time, and so he picks up the kid, gives the kid a hug, and now 1 million fans donate money to that cancer research, and thousands of people are saved. Okay, the divine play is not something that we can orchestrate. And a lot of the time when people are talking about their true purpose, they're saying what good they want to be in the world. So as we start living our life and we start releasing our conditioning, whether you think of family conditioning or karmic conditioning, what happens is we start to go through our spiritual awakening. And as we start going through our spiritual awakening, our soul starts to whisper to us. And rather than the validation of our ego being, well, I feel worthless, I want money. I feel worthless, I want a Lamborghini. I feel worthless, I want to shout a lot on Instagram and tell women that they're just not worth anything. Um, Whatever it might be. No, things, Mr. Tate. Our soul starts saying, I want to be loved because it's that divine, the divinity, the Christ consciousness within inside us is starting to wake up. So now we're saying, I want to be loved. But divinity, with the best will in the world, doesn't care. And I don't mean this in a bad way, right? Divinity does not give a monkey's what you choose. Divinity loves you anyway. So divinity is nothing but love. So if you turn around and say, I want to go and save whales in Antarctica, that's what a friend of mine's just been doing, or you turn around and say, I want to go and work with the wounded and work with the broken, divinity loves you just as much either way. What you're stepping into is what expression do you value yourself? What do you appreciate? So now we're becoming a reflection of divinity that becomes self-love. Okay. So as we're doing that, we've got our egoic structure and it's pointing us in the right direction. And this is a beautiful path. Our ego, we've decided that we want to be loved. Our divinity is waking up within inside us. We know that we want to be loved. Our ego is pointing us in a direction towards some kind of pain because our ego has taken that journey. Maybe so for myself, I work with the dying now and I do a lot of other stuff. But what we've got now is one massive problem, and this is what stops us from connecting into our true purpose. If energy flows where our attention goes, if To that which he who has more will be given, and he who has not more, even that which he does have shall be taken away. What we're looking at is he who has is in an expression of abundance and joy, and they are. It doesn't matter if they've got a cup of coffee or they got £1 million in the bank. They don't care. They are just in this space of love. I love. I absolutely love. It's a beautiful sunny day. I don't know what's in my bank account. It's just great. Whatever it is, it's fine. He who has not is in that space of panic and scarcity. They are focusing on, I don't have enough money, I don't have this, I don't have love, I don't have. And so what they're doing is you're now manifesting a path straight down. We have that expression that you have to hit rock bottom before you can come up. You do not. What's happening is you have to give up before you come up. When somebody hits rock bottom, they walk out and say, I may be homeless. I may have lost. I've been homeless, by the way. So, and I walk out and go, oh, well, at least I've got a cup of coffee. That's awesome. And it's a sunny day. That's great. We start coming back up again. We start expressing the love that we are. So as we start releasing, so we've got our karmic structure and we've got our emotional structure and we've got our life path. And it's created in the ego. So it's created from that original wound. We also have a dysregulated nervous system and a wound. Now, our ego will continue pushing us further and further and further into the path. Say, for instance, I'm a doctor. I start off with feeling I want to help people, but I've got this wound. Maybe something happened. Maybe my friend died and got run over. Sorry if that happened to anyone. It's a personal story, but and I want to help, I want to help, I want to help, but I'm still got the dysregulated nervous system that's pushing me in that direction. And as I start going, the more that I do doesn't validate it. What I do doesn't heal me because it's external. I'm not doing my inner work. I'm just pushing it. The more, if I help 10 people, if I help 20 people, if I help 30 people, if I help 40 people, I'm still not getting the validation because nothing I do is going to heal that inner wound of that thing that happened to me because I haven't done the inner work. But what's happening is my nervous system is the same, but the life I'm getting into gets more and more intense. And the more intense it gets to the point where I have critical mass. And at critical mass, I get this burnout situation. And if you see singers, X Factor, one minute they're trying to show the world that they're great, the next minute they're on stage and they can't handle it because they've got the same nervous system. They're still a 12-year-old little girl or a 12-year-old little boy, but now instead of getting validation from 1,000 people, they're getting 1,000 people judging and criticizing them. That's how they feel. So at this point, it all circles back. This is the point at which people go through that big change in their life. This is the point, and this can happen early in your life. It could happen in your 20s. It could happen in your 50s. It could happen in your 60s, your 70s, your 80s. Doesn't matter when it happens. But what's happening is the way that you've done this is divinity has organized things that you are going in a direction that could bring you joy, but you can't connect to that joy because you separated from your own heart to do it in the first place. And divinity is love. So the only way to realign with divinity is to heal your own heart as you go on the journey. And the deeper your relationship with your heart becomes, the more you start integrating your divine path. So then we go from true purpose, which is what we see other people doing and think that they're having an amazing time. My God, that singer must be having a great time. My God, that person's running that charity, that must be absolutely amazing. We're seeing the outside expression, not seeing the inner wound that's still creating that. So as we start healing our heart, we go on our journey, we start letting go of the structures that we're holding that keep us away from ourselves and keep us away from divinity. We start healing ourselves, then we start bringing and integrating our divine purpose. And you know you're doing this because this is when the flow starts coming in. So in a way, it's almost like we're born, we find a load of pain, whatever we've agreed with divinity, with Christ that we're going to experience, whether that's abandonment or whether that's being smothered, whatever it is, the pain screws us up. We heal the pain to the point our heart can handle the fire of that pain. And then we use our heart and its ability to handle that fire. We then give it to that pain and everybody around us that has that pain because we're now pointed in that direction. But when we've achieved that, our energetic boundaries are such that there is no low vibration that can undo it because there's nothing that resonates like keys on a piano. If somebody has a low vibration, I could be the highest vibration in the world, and I could meet somebody that thinks they're fat. And the one little thing I've got left is I still think I'm fat. It will resonate. It will trigger me. Just it doesn't matter how high vibration I am, it will still trigger me. So when we're going from high vibration and suddenly people can't handle the low vibration, they're still being triggered by the wounds that they've still got. The level of radiance within the love that they've got isn't enough to handle the situation they're in. Okay. So we're looking at the healing that we could do. I don't know, again, I apologize if I jumped around too much on that. But so one of the things we're looking at is the level of abundance. We've got contracts, soul contracts, karmic contracts, or emotional contracts related to spirituality. So within spiritual belief systems, which we take on board for everyone else, even if we don't believe them ourselves, we take them on board as children. We have the core identity of I need to sacrifice wealth in order to connect to God. So you'll find within spirituality that actually charity is a really big thing. However, people will use charity to actually connect to their spiritual beliefs. I need to let go of money, surrender money, not have money because I don't care about money because I'm spiritual. But now to connect to spirituality, I now need charity because I got to be a good person. And so we get this kind of this cycle that comes in. But what I was thinking might be a good overall one to do. I've got like 5 or 6 different belief systems here that we could work on. We've also got our relationship with divinity is our relationship with our heart. Our relationship with finances and abundance is actually our relationship on the masculine. And we've got the feminine as well, so relationship with our dad. But I was thinking maybe if anyone was up for it, we'd do a kind of quickish healing on general struggle and validating through struggle. And that kind of helps us step more into ease and flow because things don't need to be so difficult. What do we think? Just hold up your hands if you want to do that. Or if anyone has a question or a suggestion, we can throw that in instead. Okay, not seeing any hands. Anyone else struggle? Okay, right, cool. Does
And Richard,
anybody
can
have, yeah, go for it. Anything
can
you want.
can we do something about the struggle around finances, maybe? Because in my chapter, there's a specific part about you know, receiving when you're on this unsure path
Hmm.
and journeying and how like I was hoping we could all feel a little bit better about finances by the end of
Okay, right.
this.
So financial self-worth. So one thing I will bring in, and we mentioned alchemy. Um, Anything that's egoic has duality to it. Right and wrong, good and bad, yes and no, light and dark. Love, pure love, divine love, is complete and total acceptance, utter allowance. Okay. So when we're going through the pain and suffering in our life, bad things happen. It brings our stuff up and it brings our triggers up. And we have these patterns that keep triggering us until we kind of surrender and let go and we offer them up to the Lord and we become in allowance of it. The second we become in allowance of it, we're no longer focused on the suffering inherent within the situation. And if we then look at the energy goes where our attention flows, we stop creating it within our own life. We allow it to dissipate. So if we look at the idea of Jesus forgiving us on the cross, or us being part of forgiveness, if we swap that narrative to allowance, there is no way that he liked what was happening to him. But even though it was happening to him, he loved us anyway. He was in allowance of what we were doing, and that created a different dynamic for humanity to not resist suffering. But we also don't want to stay in suffering. We don't want to wallow in suffering, and we don't want to use suffering as a way of showing how strong we are, how good we are, how brilliant we are. We don't want to use poverty to show how pure we are. We don't want to use powerlessness to show how humble we are. Okay, so finances. Okay, you just made that a little bit bigger. Struggle related to finances. There is 250 belief systems when it comes to finances, so thanks for that, Kat. Right. As well as poverty contracts and everything else. So anyone who's got a pen and paper handy, amazing. And anyone who doesn't, we're just going to do this. Imagine that you are in a situation where money is kind of important. Maybe you don't have the clients you want. Maybe you've got bills coming in and you have that struggle. Right? We're all aware, we all know that feeling of that struggle, but it's that struggle where it meets the point of desperation. I really need money right now. Okay. Now, everybody think about that one, and I guarantee we are all in resistance of that feeling. So just notice where you feel it in your body. Your head, your stomach, your heart. Where do you feel this heaviness? So for me, as I'm talking, a lot of you doing that quite well. Sorry, it's going to take me a moment just to adjust. Just so you're aware, I created a group field when we started talking, and the energy that's coming off it is pretty insane at the moment. You're doing great. Yeah, solar plexus. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm feeling it. So kind of in the heart, right? Right. So as we connect into that, give it a scale of 1 to 10. And this just brings it up. So we're bringing it out of the story of the struggle. We're just going to start bringing it up to a different part of the brain. As we do that, okay, now give it a color. And this just again helps us bring it into a different part. 4 to 10. Yeah. Okay. And purple. Cool. So as we connect into that, now forget about money. Forget about your money troubles and forget about work and forget about all of that stuff. Just now, focus on the purple feeling. Now we felt the feeling, or whatever the color is for you, your individual color. Ask yourself, what is your earliest memory of ever feeling a struggle like this? Again, not financial. It might be financial, but it's unlikely. For most of us, it's going to be below the age of 10, maybe 6, 7 years old. As you just focus in on that, it's a sense of difficulty. And I do burp and yawn when I'm doing this, so I apologize. Do I have permission, by the way, to clear the group field while I'm doing this? Okay, if anyone doesn't want me to clear the group field while I'm doing this, put your thumbs down. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to do it with Christ consciousness. And I make an angelic healing grid. Again, this all sounds a bit strange. But so connecting to the angelic realm, we're going to create an angelic healing grid. We're going to invite in Christ consciousness. We're just going to release some of the conditioning, some of the emotional hooks, and some of the stuff. So what we learn about struggle is that we do it to validate our family. We also learn that if I don't struggle, I have to leave my family behind. So if your family struggled, like my family struggled, if suddenly I'm abundant and I'm having a really easy time and everything's flowing for me, it's almost like I'm leaving them in their trauma. I'm leaving them in their trauma. And because we're pack animals, we don't want to do that. We stick together through trauma. Okay. And so if life is easy, we have to let go of that trauma. So as you connect into that, I want you all to see that little version of you there. And I'm just going to start writing down some things that come up. So first of all, within this struggle, there is a real sense of, for a lot of you, of feeling alone. Now, the people around, but it's kind of stuckness. Now, because we're doing financial, I want you to focus this stuckness on anything you learned and anything that may have come forward on your masculine side, anything you saw about your prime financial caregiver. Could have been mum, could have been dad, could have been anyone, but how hard they worked. Okay. Now, so we got hard working, we got difficult. Now, what you also learned as a child is that money was more important than you. 9 times out of 10. You want to cuddle your dad, so you want to cuddle your mum, and they've got to go to work. You want this thing, but we don't have the money for it. And if you think about as a child, you might want a present, you might want a gift. You don't have any concept of what money is, but mum and dad can't afford it. But if you're really good, the better you are, the more happy they are, the bigger the present you might get, or the more presents you might get. But this one, not enough. So we start learning that money's here, our parents are here, and we're somewhere down here. So we learn we're not as important as money. Now, important. Now, on the other side of that, where money relates to divinity, we know that the good things in our life are divine, stability, faith, trust in the Lord will get us our stability. As a child, if we think about everything that we want, if we're really good, we'll be blessed, we'll be abundant, we'll get everything. When we're a child, we get that from our parents. The stability, the security, the gifts of money, our abundance is based on pleasing them and their ability to spend money. So we have this deep conditioning, a deep layer of genetic conditioning, which actually means that money kind of replaces God for a lot of people. In that, if I'm not spiritual, if I'm not religious, the more money I have, the more abundance I have. If I am religious, then it's God, my relationship with God. And so we get this kind of toxicity that kind of comes in inherent in human conditioning on that. So we're just going to add that in. I'm not as important as money and relationship with God. Okay. So if anyone's got anything else, just put it in the chat. Ah, my dad always said I can outwork the next guy. Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, outwork. So now we have competition. So to get money, we have to do better, right? That means on the flip side, that if we don't have money, we're not doing good enough. And that means we're not good enough. So if we want to be a billionaire, why not? Money doesn't matter. You can have as much of it as you want. Now, the other side of it, and this is one again I love about what you guys have been talking about with the journeying, is abundance. Money doesn't actually matter. Um, you can manifest divinity, you can co-create with divinity outside of money. So the next thing is that money is the gateway to freedom, and it's not. But when we believe it is, we can't have this. I don't have enough money to go on holiday. I don't have enough money for a new car. I don't have enough money. They say we can have no other gods, but we make money important. Okay. So everyone connect in, and I want you to look at this version of you, this little child there, learning all this kind of stuff, and they're not getting the love that they want. And it's not even that they're not getting the love that they want, they're not being able to give the love that they want. As a soul, we don't want to receive love, we want to be love. As a child, it's not about the love that we didn't get, it's about the love that we tried to give that wasn't received. So our expression of self, our expression of passion, joy, isn't about who's going to give us what. It's about if I'm truly me, if I shine, will people love me? Will people be able to receive it? Can I shine so much I can make other people happy? Can I shine so much I can change other people's lives? Can I see someone that's upset, that's down, that's depressed? Can I shine so much that I can brighten them up? It's where we want the true purpose. I want to make people happy, the expression of self. So I want you to connect in and I want you all to see your little inner child there. And I want you to just repeat these words out loud, but you're muted. But if you do it out loud, it goes to the auditory centers as well. So I just want you to say, hi, in another time, in another place, in a kingdom other than this one. I wanted to know what it would be like to shine, to be loved, to connect to myself with such wonder, with such joy, to co-create with divinity and understand the truth of the beauty that I am. And to do that, I needed to know the difference. I can't know courage without knowing fear. I could never appreciate money without understanding poverty. I could never know what it would be like to truly love myself unless I knew what it was like to feel that I didn't deserve love. With all the love that I have, I forgive you. I thank you. So you're holding this challenge for me. You're looking at mum and dad, you're looking at your caregivers, and you can't understand. All you want to do is hold them and hug them, and they just seem stressed. They seem unhappy, and it's all because of this money. And yet, as an adult, you're going to want it. You're going to need it. You're going to think you want it. You're going to think you need it. And what you're really learning to do, because you feel alone, because you feel separate, because you feel that you're not important and as important as this money is to them, you're learning you're not as important as money. And you've been holding this. And later on in life, this is going to help me struggle. And through that struggle, I can learn pride. This is going to help me feel less than. And through that less than, I can feel more than. This is going to help me with so many lessons. But once they're learnt, I don't need them anymore. But you're still holding them. And I am so sorry that I didn't come sooner. With all the love that I have, I forgive you for how hard you're finding life. And with love, I ask you to forgive me for not coming sooner. I'm sorry that I haven't been the person that you wanted me to be. I'm not living the life of fun, of joy, of freedom that you always wanted for me as a child. But I'm here. I love you. And I'm finally here to set you free. So with love, I pray that you find the peace that you're looking for. And with love, I set you free. Now take a big breath in and breathe out. Now, at the same time, any of you that wish to do this and any of you that channel energy, we're going to bring in Christ consciousness. Created a structure at the beginning of all of this anyway. So Christ consciousness is the consciousness of allowance itself. We call it unconditional love, but it's not forgiveness. And I know this sounds really interesting, and you can disagree with me on this one. For me, it's not forgiveness because forgiveness implies that you had to see something wrong in the first place. If I see a child eating a cookie when I tell them not to, it makes me giggle. I tell them not to, but it makes me giggle. There's no forgiveness of that child. I literally love that child for who they are. It's complete allowance. It's allowance of your darkness. And through that allowance of your darkness, that darkness can fall away, the egoic structures can fall away, and we can connect into that with the expanse of love. Is we're going through our life journey and we've got these structures and this pain in our system. As we connect out of that, as we allow that to fall away, it becomes an expression of love. And love is completely unlimited. There is no limit. You don't need money to have an amazingly massive Gandhi. I'm not a mega Gandhi fan, but Gandhi managed to kick all of the English out of India and stop English rule. No army in the world could do that. Gandhi did it without money. He did it with passion. He did it with joy, and he did it with his heart. Okay. There is no level that you can't get to, and there's nothing you can't do if it's just love. So as you're connecting into this version of your little child, letting go of all of the stuff that they learned from their parents. Now, there's a thing called the supermassive karmic fixation, which is our parents. It's where we imprint. So first thing I want you to do, and I'm going to do this for, I think I can do this up to 45 people. So I think we're all right in the numbers group. We connect into our parents and we're going to see their struggle. But rather than seeing it as mum, mummy or mum or mom, whatever, we're going to see them as an adult, as in you're an adult. We're going to look at them and go, look, I love my parent. Hopefully, I had love for my parent as a child, no matter how that ended up playing out. As a child, we had love because we wanted their appreciation, their validation. And if you let go of that, your inner child feels that they're going to be alone and abandoned and by themselves. So as you hold your inner child with love, allow your inner child to step out of that. They don't need it from their parent, they're going to get it from you. And we can see the pain that your parents were in, the conditioning, the struggle, all of the stuff that they got from their grandparents, from the stresses of life, and allow yourself to see the stress in that parent and see them as a person, not your parent, and a person you can love, and you can invite them into their love, into your life with love. As we're doing that, we're going to do a little energetic divorce. I'm just going to say, I love you. You were my parent. You brought me into the world. But that doesn't make you perfect. It just makes you a person. And you gave me life, but I gave you the pleasure of being a parent. I didn't agree or ask to be born. On a soul level, maybe I did, but I don't owe you anything and you don't owe me anything. All the vows, all the deals, all the obligations, and all the commitments that you ask of me, I now declare complete. And with love, I set you free. Free to love me as I am and not who you want me to be. And then you have to love them as they are, or not, and not who you want them to be an allowance of their pain. And they will project as much as they can onto you from time to time. And that's fine. They can project that onto you. You don't need to take it. You can just sit there and go, okay, if I don't take your pain, I don't take your projections, your obligations, I know you're going to be upset with that, and that's cool. I'm okay with you being upset, and I'm going to love you anyway. I'll hold space for that. Or I'm not. It's entirely up to you. You have freedom. You are sovereign. Okay. Now, as we step out of that one, now connecting back to your inner child. If your inner child had all of the dreams that you have and didn't have to make your parents happy, didn't have to be obedient, didn't have to obey, didn't have to do anything, and understood that it's not that they weren't as important as money, it's that your parents were holding stress and didn't know what to do and how to deal with it. And that's okay. Okay. So we're stepping out of that space, stepping back into a space of love, and we're going to bring that Christ consciousness in. Just allow you and Christ in complete allowance of who you are, creating a new timeline now, letting go of karmic structures now. Allow that child, if you could take that child, what does that child need? That version of you need? Do they want to be seen? How do they want to express themselves? What passion, what joy could they be? That if they were that passion and were that joy, they would fully appreciate the magnitude of who they are. Or what are they curious about? We've got adventuring, bring in curiosity and the law of surprise. What alignment could they be with divinity that if they were that alignment, if you chose that alignment, what could you let go of now that if you were to let go of that would allow you to step into the passion and joy of who you are? And pick a timeline, pick a direction. If you want to know what your true purpose is, it's the thing that you enjoy the most. That's it. And through that, you step into your heart. And as you step into your heart expands. As your heart expands, you do more of it, etc., etc. It's heart expansion. So give that version of you a new parent, which is you, and allow that person, if they had a fully nurturing, supportive, everything they did, not stupidly, they're not allowed to jump up and down on a rooftop or put their finger in plug sockets, but they were nurtured, they were told, they were believed in. If you were fully believed in, what is it that that inner child would make? What do they do? So they're about 7, 8 years old. I want you to imagine them at 15, 16 years old. As a teenager, what version of them do you see? How are they different from you? They live a different life. They're fully nurtured and in their joy, in their passion. Okay. Take a few moments and just observe them. What are they doing that you didn't do? Are they more confident than you? What passion have they stepped into? They don't have anything to prove to anyone, so they're just doing it for the sake of it, doing it for the joy of it. Okay. Now, give them another 5 years. So they're in their 20s now. After that, we're going to make them 30. After that, we're going to make them 40. After that, we're going to make them 55. Okay, so they're now very successful in whatever it is they chose to do. And maybe they've gone through that success and let go of it. Maybe they made their money, set up their businesses, and maybe they're just now enjoying. Maybe they're doing conservation projects, but they did some business first. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they were on their spiritual, whatever it is. They've written books. They've mastered the keys of mastery. I think 6 or 7. I haven't read the book, but it sounds pretty cool. Okay. Now look at them towards the end of their life and imagine somewhere you've always wanted to go, but they go every year. Lake Como in Italy, some cabin in some woods. It's where they like to go. And as they're there, maybe there's family. Do you go by yourself in this version of your future, or do you go with a loved one? And I want you to just picture a scene. Maybe it's lunchtime, wherever they are. Maybe they're in a restaurant in Italy out on the stones that they go to every year, or they're sitting drinking a hot mug of cocoa. And look at them. Look at the smile on their face. Look at the gravitas, the power, the confidence that they have, the embodiment, the pure confidence in the love that they are, that they have, everything that they've embodied, the divinity within them, the divinity they've achieved, the wounds that they've healed, the total expression of love that they are, unshakable. If you want to, you can put them in a negative situation you've got in your life now and just see how they don't care, or see how they do care, but they don't get affected by it. As you see them, I want you to imagine you're a ghost, and I want you to float into them. Sit down, feel the clothing they're wearing, feel the weight of your body on the chair. If they're eating, feel the knife and fork, feel the clothes, feel the warmth or the coldness, feel the sunshine or the wind. Ask yourself, where are your loved ones? Are they here? Did you come here by yourself and they're at home? And just soak into that. And from that space, now for those who wish to, feel divinity and their relationship with divinity, the sense of pride that they get from divinity, their soul proud of them, happy to be them, happy to have experienced them in this lifetime, everything that they've accomplished. Just allow that all to soak in. As we're doing that, we're repatterning and rewiring the ego consciousness to a different kind of ego consciousness. We're just realigning it. As we're doing that, I'm just gonna do something. So anyone who wants to, you can leave, but I will continue to do this for anyone who wishes. So I'm just gonna just clear some of your energetic pathways. And this is just for those of you who believe in Chinese medicine. We're just clearing some of your Shakti system, your energetic pathways. And then we're going to clear, we have a lot of our traumas. So at the moment, the one we're actually cleaning is your root chakra. So your root chakra, your grounding. Now, as a child, we get these little heart wounds. And these heart wounds, we understand, particularly with on the money or the financial, the physical stability side of things, we're not grounded into it because we understand that we don't deserve as much in terms of money. So this lack of deserving comes in to our root chakra. So when we're looking at embodying, we have a huge amount of spirituality and we have our high vibration, but we find it very difficult. The bottom three chakras, we need to do that to ground it and to be grounded in our sovereignty. So I'm just going to clear the root chakra. For most of you, I'm going to do this with multi-dimensional structures, which is just a expression of Christ consciousness we're going to use for this one. I'm just going to channel into little threads, like little hair-like threads. I'm going to put that into everybody's root chakra. It's going to take me a few moments, and it will stay there for the next 2 or 3 weeks, just healing, just bringing that sense of that divine alignment in, and just any traumas, any pain, any wounds that you've got individually, we'll just start to soak into that. I'm going to do some weird breathing on this one, so apologies. Okay, so sorry, a couple of you are a little, you've got more in there, shall we say? Okay, I'm not going to start doing a full healing. Okay, so we need sixth dimensional blueprints. So we've got our mental, and then we start getting, as we go through the energetic bodies, the energetic layers, we've got 10th dimensional consciousness, we'll call that divinity. We've got fifth dimensional consciousness, soul is around sixth, seventh dimensional consciousness. So you have these blueprints and emotional hooks to those that have died, those that have gone past. So this is kind of the emotion of heart, love, trauma. These are sixth dimensional blueprints of how things should be. But this is an egoic structure. So I'm just gonna channel into those two. Most of this for most of you is really very, very much coming up to relationship with your parents and the family dynamics as they related to struggle and money, being small to be loved, that kind of thing. Now we all have a love sexuality thing. We get more love as a child, and then we go through sexuality and we start understanding that our desires are bad. Don't see boys, don't have sex before marriage. And as our hormones start kicking in, we have this sense of desire, but we know that our desire is a bad thing. And so we have this sense of innocence. We have to be pure in order to be loved for who we are. And it's our purity that's loved. So we're just going to release that and know that we're loved for who we are, full stop. As much as we can. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and suddenly be all ascended, but we're just putting some structures into those emotional blueprints. Sorry. Okay, and then finally, we do what we can to put the patterning, the emotional conditioning or physical body mind. You got the identity that you created in relationship to seeing your parents' fears, fixations, and worries. So as you saw your parents worried about money, as you saw your parents fixated on injustices in the world, you start learning that this is important for me to worry about as well. And then that worry, again, from a manifesting point of view, makes it much harder to connect into that abundance. Yeah. So scarcity around money, your adopted parents, that's 100% it. For you, the NARM developmental thing. Yeah, business meeting, that's cool, don't worry. Um, there's five major heart wounds that I work with, but abandonment is one thing. Adoption I find really, really beautiful because it's an interesting one. When we're adopted, people when they're adopted have this sense of abandonment because my parents didn't want me, but people that are adopted are the only people ever that are loved so much they get chosen for who they are by their adopted parents. So it's this really beautiful dynamic. It's a really interesting one that comes in. I hope that was your experience anyway. Right. Okay. Right. So all of you, last thing that's coming up that I can actually get to, like to do all of this would take a couple of hours, and we're not going to do that today. But Um, the last thing that's coming in is this sense of duty and obligation to our family, to our parents, and to those around us. Okay. So, in to connect to our spiritual self, we have a lot of spiritual templates, religious templates that come in. Number one is I need to reject the material world to connect to the spiritual world. But to embody, we need to embrace the material world, but in a way that comes through heart, not through ego. Another one is I have to help people do good. Now, this is a beautiful thing to do, but we do it from a point of love, not from a point of obligation and duty, which a lot of you have already got to that point of love, which is beautiful. However, um, as a child, we have this need to fix our parents and fix everyone else's problems because we're learning what it is to be a good person. So, on everybody, rounding this off, and Kat, you know this one, hand on heart, the other hand up, as if you are pledging to the flag of allegiance. And when you say, I, whatever your name is, say for me, it's Rue, I, Rue, resign as CEO of the universe and everybody else's problems. I have been trying to help everybody, heal everybody, and fix everybody all this time. Sometimes it works, but 9 times out of 10, they just get more of the same problems again. I resign, I quit, lovingly, I'm out. Take a deep breath in and let go. Now, other hand, other side. I, for me, Rue, hire myself as managing director of Rue Incorporated. From now on, every decision I make, every choice I make will be for the financial betterment of Rue, for the spiritual betterment of me, for the deeper connection with divinity, the confidence and joy of surrender. It will be to show the world that they are worthy of love by stepping into a life that is so beautiful, that is so amazing, that I create it as a fantastic art piece for my own inner child and then give it to my inner child as a gift to live in. If I want a pirate ship, I will manifest it. I want a pirate ship. I will manifest a pirate ship. If I want a strange pet, I will have a strange pet. If I want to show the world that anything is possible, I will co-create that with divinity because I allow myself to do that. This is my pledge to both myself and divinity. This is done, this is done, this is done. So help me God. Everyone breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. Cool. Now, if you have any questions, I have spoken too much, I apologize, but feel free to ask any questions that you may have or that you wish, if you wish.